Well, they see what? What they see what? They got that see what here. They got to get everybody tonight.
Black and ball, you're a genius, you dig?
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome out to another exciting, riveting, bone-chilling episode of According to Kaz and Queen. And as always, I'm Kaz.
And I'm Queen.
And this is episode number 31 of this little podcast of ours. We are right in the midst of season 2. Thank you guys for joining us as always. You know what it is. We are available on all streaming services. You can hear us on Spotify, on Apple Music, Google Podcasts. You can hear us on Amazon Music as well. And you can also hear us on Black with No Chaser. All right. Make sure that you're checking them out and make sure that you download the Black with No Chaser app. All right. That's the BWNC radio app. Make sure you download it and you can hear us every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. live and in living color, man. You can join in. You can check us out there. Shouts out to everybody at Black with No Chaser. And, of course, if you're interested in seeing our bright, shiny faces, you know what to do, all right? When I put my finger right here, bam, you know what it is. Make sure that you are subscribing to that YouTube channel right there. Make sure you go, you like, make sure you subscribe, and make sure that you turn on the notifications. And you can not only hear us, but you can also watch us as well. So make sure you subscribe to the page. And of course, this show is brought to you by the Kundi collection, of which I am wearing right now. Okay. Here's a shot of our little Africa design right here. You can get this in t-shirts, in hoodies. Of course, springtime is coming. So, the t-shirts are getting ready to be a thing again. But, if you're in Mississippi, where we are, you can experience several different seasons all in 1 week. And
day.
And one time, we have experienced them in an entire day, of course, as a matter of fact. So it was 80 degrees just maybe 5 or 6 days ago. And last night it was 29, I believe. So, we were out spring breaking on last week, had a fantastic time by the water. And one day it was really warm. And on the very next day, it was biting cold outside. So it's crazy, but that's Mississippi weather, and that's what happens. But make sure that you go to www.kundicollective.com. That's www.kundicollective.com. You should see it up on the screen right now. Check out the designs that we have in the t-shirt line that me and my beautiful bride have, man. Make sure you do that, man. And make sure you continue to follow us. We've enjoyed the comments, all of the questions. Make sure you're following us on social media. According to Kaz and Queen on Facebook and Kaz and Queen on both Instagram and Twitter as well. Whenever I can get my wife to agree to doing silly videos, we might actually do TikTok once we learn how to navigate it. If Joe Biden doesn't ban TikTok in the United States, by the way. So we're back as always. If you're listening to us or if you're watching us, you're going to hear the clink, clink, clink. You a little slow on the draw that time. It's like he was trying to get ready. Let's do it one more time. All right, there you go. There's the clink of the glasses. The wine is back out. Ladies and gentlemen, we've had the time to recuperate properly and hydrate properly. So we are recording now, and we are enjoying some adult beverages here as we get into this discussion. But a lot of stuff going on this week. Of course, we did have a chance to get some rest and restoration. We talk about that a lot on this podcast. It's very important, just as human beings that we get a chance to rest and recharge. It was spring break for us here. I know spring break is a little bit different for a lot of people in a lot of different areas of the country, but we got a chance to rest and restore and catch up and recharge our batteries to get through the rest of the spring, maybe making our way into the summer. It was a great time. Got a chance to relax.
I think that people, it would be a good idea right here to mention that we often think of restoration and relaxation as, time away to kick it and do things we can't usually do with the kids and things like that. But I want to specifically mention that it is necessary for married people to take time to restore, to reconnect, together. You know, it's really easy to get in your own lane and kind of operate there, especially if you're not doing consistent communication and actually setting out date nights and taking time for each other and, you know, just kind of evaluating things together. If you're not doing that on a regular basis, then you definitely should be getting away from the norm, just the two of you, because ultimately that's what it boils down to, you know, the two of you. So yes, the individual restoration is necessary, individual relaxation, individual reconnection is important, but it is definitely also important when you're married or in a significant relationship. It is also important to reconnect to that person and to give yourself some downtime away from work, especially if you're entrepreneurs. It's really, really easy to get off track. So, you know, I just wanted to point that out because that was really significant for us this weekend.
Yeah, it was. And, you know, I was talking about there was a time when, you know, it was very difficult to get me away from my regular routine. You know, consistency for me and, you know, doing things on a regular basis and having a schedule is very important to me. I'm the more logical of the two of us. She is
The more logical?
Yes, I am the more
You saying
logical.
about it?
Yeah, I'm the more logical of the two of us. My wife kind of flies by the seat of her pants a little bit. So I think we complement each other in that regard. But, you know, I was always of the belief system that, you know, you put your nose to the grindstone and you keep going and you keep digging and you keep pushing until you reach pay dirt. But in the meantime, while you're doing that, you have to give yourself time. And I have learned as the years have progressed, you got to give yourself time to get away from that.
What exactly does fly by the seat of her pants mean?
Fly by the seat of your pants means that, you know, it's like whatever happens, whatever comes, we'll deal with it when it gets here. You know, that's kind of your attitude on things, not to stress too much. You know, if it happens, it happens. You know, things are not necessarily within our control. God will work it out and God will make it happen at the end of the day.
Yeah, I am like that, but fly by the seat of your pants seems to me that you're out of control and kind of disconnected. But
to the logical people across the aisle, that's what that looks like.
Okay, well, that's not what it is. I'm absolutely connected. I'm very grounded. I just don't take my direction from the same place that you take your direction.
I mean, that's fair. We're two different people in that regard. But I can say that over the years, I've definitely changed. You know, this last time I was very intentional and have been very intentional for a minute about us getting away and getting out of town and getting some time for ourselves. And I think it's very important. And I think as you get older, I think that you will find that time is important. I see a lot of people now that kind of get it in their 20s, you know, these 20-year-olds that are jet set and taking these trips and they're out on vacation all the time and using that PTO. You know, we come from a different generation, you know, of letting that PTO just pile up. Just afraid that, you know, something's going to come up and something's going to happen and,
letting
you know, you're not going to have it.
Just sit there.
Yeah.
They just let it sit there. And then, you know, I guess the idea is you never know what's going to happen. All that means is that you're operating in fear. And then also that one day I got to retire and I'm going to need these days to get that big check. That's the driving force. Mm-hmm. Well, if you work yourself too much, by the time you retire, you ain't gonna feel like doing nothing.
Yeah, it's not.
You know, and like in the case of the health department that I came from, there was talk at one time that the retirement system wasn't even, peers was just gonna be gone. Mm-hmm. So who knows what the future holds, you know, putting things off when you can be living instead of just existing. I don't know. I just choose to spend every day like it's the last, you know. That's just me. Just my thing. Yeah.
And that's why we're different in that regard.
But there's something to be said for the balance.
Yeah.
Because what you bring kind of often puts me back on track. And what I bring often makes you get on tracks that you don't consider. So there is power in the balance.
That balance is there. We wrangle each other in at times when it's necessary.
For sure.
You know? So, I mean, I think that's good in that fact. You know, I was and I think I've told you this, my dad, when he retired, he had about, I don't know, he might have had close to maybe 4 years of PTO.
That's a lot.
That he had built up.
I know a lot of people who had 1 or 2, but 4.
Yeah,
my God. Did he ever miss work?
My dad only missed work when he was just physically unable to go. Like, he had to be physically unable to go. If he was able to walk in, and this is before, of course, this day and age of, people being germaphobes. Of course, this was decades before COVID, and people kind of being mindful of this. But if he was able to get up and if he was able to dress himself and walk out and drive to work, he would go, even if he wasn't feeling well, even if he had flu-like symptoms, even if he had a runny nose, cold, cough, body aches, he would go to work.
Did he enjoy his job?
He stayed there for 40 years.
Did he enjoy his job?
You know what? I don't know if he ever enjoyed it. I know that he went because that's what he thought that he was supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And I always said that I don't ever want to be in those shoes. I don't ever want to be at a point where I'm going to a job. He comes from the generation of you graduate,
you get a job, to work.
You get a job, you get a job, you get one of them good jobs with the good benefits and the good retirement, and you stay in it and you just work it. You just close your eyes and you hold your breath and you work that job every day and you work towards the retirement so that you can live. And in between, you only take off if you're sick, or, unless there's some type of emergency or calamity that you have to. And, yeah, man, it was wild. I don't want to be in that same position. So, I'm working on being different about that. So, yeah, I put that PTO in.
So were you able to relax?
I was able to relax. I enjoyed it. I was looking forward to it. And now, like a lot of people, I'm looking forward to the next opportunity to be able to take off a couple of days, even if it's not, traveling.
Yeah.
Just looking forward to the next couple of days of being even if it's a Friday and I take the afternoon on a Friday off going into the weekend, I'm going to use that time.
Yeah.
I'm going to use it, and I'm going to stay in a good mental space so that I don't get in a rut. So,
or burn out.
Yeah.
A lot of people just burn out.
Yeah. I've pledged to be able to do that. So, we talked about this on yesterday. If you're going to worry, don't pray. And if you're going to pray, don't worry. As you say, God will work it out and God will fix those things. So, I kind of let you take the lead on that and try to learn a new way of living. But in that regard, talking about some things that have been happening this week, a lot of conversations happen on Twitter. It's a lot of crazy conversations that happen. So one of the things that I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on, because this has been a discussion for maybe 2 or 3 days on Twitter. And I have to ask you, if you think about it, was Jesus broke?
I don't know. Was Jesus real?
I mean,
I don't know. I mean,
that's a deep. You're going super deep. I mean, because, we always talk about not being religious people, but being spiritual people. I mean, you are familiar. You've been in the church. You are familiar, with the gospel and the Bible and, Christianity and that kind of thing. From your memory, could you see an instance, or would you think, or would you have an opinion on whether or not Jesus was broke?
I think the whole thing about Jesus was that he was broke, right? That he was humble.
I think so.
That he was there for the poor, every man, the enslaved people. And yeah, so I think, where is this idea coming from that he was not broke? What's the argument?
His trade was that of a carpenter, if I remember correctly, and I'm not a biblical scholar, but he was a carpenter. That was his trade. That's what he came up, doing at the time. So basically, that's what a contractor is these days, or a handyman is these days. So, I'm sure, he had to sustain himself. He had to feed himself. I have to go back and kind of read the scripture. We probably have to talk to a pastor about that. But Jesus being the everyman and, being the light post or the lighthouse for the poor and the downtrodden. I definitely don't see him having been a rich man, especially considering, when they say, it's easier for an elephant to get through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to get into the kingdom of heaven. I don't see him being rich.
The conversation itself is off-putting to me. I mean, why does it matter if he was rich or poor? He was still, he had a bigger purpose that money doesn't equate to.
Right.
So how do we get from talking about the purpose of his life down to something as trivial as if he was rich or poor?
Right. These conversations are wild, and I think it comes from, we're in the social media age, and I think we've talked about this before. It's disgusting how, the term broke has become an insult. It's like, people are trying to figure out how to not be broke. It's embarrassing to be broke, or for someone to call you broke is like the ultimate insult. And, if you are someone of Jesus' stature, or someone who was given as much as Jesus had, or just anyone in this world that we live in, that, you wouldn't have been or should not have been broke. As if, people don't understand that there are different levels to that, and there are different definitions of what broke is. Things have come down to money. Everything has come down to the amount of money that you have, and the amount of money that you make, and the amount of money that you're able to flash, and the amount of money that you're able to stunt with in front of other people. So much so now that we're having a conversation on whether or not Jesus Christ himself had money. It's weird. It's really a weird thing.
It's subjective. You can make an argument either way, depending on the day and the time and the person. And it, to me, has no significance at all to what Jesus Christ's purpose was. And I can't, in good faith, even indulge in the conversation. It's disrespectful. And I'm not even a Christian, but it's still disrespectful.
I mean, would it have made a difference? Would he have not been as impactful, is my question, if he was broke? Would you have considered him to not be impactful? Would he still not be Jesus Christ if he was broke?
You have to ask them. I mean, the people who are having a discussion. I'm curious to know why it matters. I got the eeks.
Yeah,
having the conversation is just making me uncomfortable.
It's really, well, we talk about those things that are happening, those conversations that take place, out there in the world, in the Twitter sphere, in the social media realm, or wherever it might be. And I thought it was just interesting because we've gotten to the point now where we're quantifying somebody's worth by whether or not they're broke or not.
Well, that's today's world, so I guess it makes sense that they would go back and try to find something monetary to place on Jesus and measure him by that, which is just off-putting. I mean, maybe that's a question for someone who has a more disciplined understanding of and following for the Bible and Jesus Christ himself. I'm sure we have pastor friends and, family who we could direct those questions to and have a discussion about their opinions. But at the end of the day, I think it's just going to be a matter of that person's opinion because, it's just going to be subjective at the end of the day.
Because it can lead to a conversation, and I would not be surprised if it's happening now, if it happens eventually at some point. So if you want to know whether or not was Jesus broke, now will the question to come up, was Martin Luther King broke? Was Malcolm X broke?
They expect them to be broke. They black. So the first thing they're going to say is, yeah, they was broke.
Regardless of what they have done as it relates to history, as it relates to being some of the great people that have walked this earth.
And then
history.
The things that they look for to measure the amount of money somebody has, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X they wasn't draped in jewelry and driving around in fancy cars. So I'm sure they would assume they was broke too. But
And does that make their impact less than what it was historically?
in
Because
fact, if they were broke, it makes it better because they have to work harder and they have the same challenges that normal, regular, everyday people have. So I believe, just like I say all the time, that you can't lead me to righteousness if you ain't never been wrong. So it's the same thing. Like, I expect if you're able to contribute to my life that you've been through what I'm going through. So even a rich man, I mean, not all of them, but most of them started poor. You know, a lot of them, not most, but a lot of them started poor.
Right.
So it would be safe to say that if you wanted to have a savior, that savior would know and understand the living of people who are not rich.
Right. And I think, too, it leads to the conversation, and you and I have had this conversation. You are the daughter of Howard Spencer, the creator and the founder of the Black and Proud School here in Jackson, Mississippi. And those activists that worked tirelessly during the civil rights era, and those people that have worked as activists and that have worked as politicos in whatever country, in whatever area that it is. And the fact that a lot of those folks, not purposely, but, did their work and tried to make those changes in their communities with the understanding that it was not going to bring them earthly riches.
Yeah, the work was their payment. The reward was seeing people live better lives and seeing people be better, which is what I'd like to think that Jesus and Gandhi and Mother Teresa and all the other people who we hold in that regard, what their lives were about, So it's just really tainted to have a conversation. It taints what we believe as humans. And it kind of cuts into the humility of these people. They have to operate in a sense of humility for us to be able to believe in them and their existence. So to say that Jesus was rich, or Malcolm or Medgar, and we know where Medgar lived, so he wasn't rich.
Yeah.
So, it's I don't know. It's a tough thing. I mean, people, it's uncomfortable. It's just not a good,
it's tough, and I get it, because these are conversations that are brought forth by the younger generation. Most of these conversations that I see, these are some of these, new, 25, 26-year-olds who are trying to, getting into the world and, asking these questions and being inquisitive and being curious, or doing things because they simply want to try to get engagement on their pages, whether or not they mean it or not. But I think it's incumbent upon us when it gets to these stages to be able to, to offer some clarity in these regards, because if we're going to be raising a generation of Black kids who decide that activism is not going to be their thing because they might have to end up being broke and not having any money and not being able to stunt, then where does that leave us?
Well, I think it's a little different today because activists are getting paid today. They get, compensation or something. They get something. And I'm sure Malcolm and Martin probably got something. I'm sure my dad got something. But the purpose was not to get rich. The purpose was to get me there, get my gas money, get my hotel room so I can get there and spread this good news, not I'm coming up, I'm going to become a public speaker so I can, that's going to be how I make my money.
Get paid and be famous.
It was just, it's different. And I think it just comes from this next generation, these people, the people that they see who they idolize look rich. That don't necessarily mean they are rich, but they look rich, and they spout all this rhetoric about how their lives are so much better because they have this money and this energy and that energy. And so these are the people that they're idolizing, where in our day we were looking up to Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and you know what I'm saying, those kind of people. So it's just different, and it's tough. It's going to be tough for them. But the world is changing. Like, it's changing. In 30 years, it's going to be a whole bunch of idiots walking around here. Like, nobody's going to be reading anything or studying anything for themselves. Everything is just gone. And it's all because of social media.
Yeah. And dare I say, the downfall of a civilization, might be charged to social media.
Absolutely.
It's crazy. And I fear, just as we're talking about this new generation, I fear that, we're raising a generation of black kids that are going to be so out of touch and so separate from their history, and learning the correct history, and learning about the struggle, learning about how we got there, learning about what it means to be black in this country. We're getting to a point where we're going to be at a generation that's so disconnected from that it's going to be to our detriment in the long term. We see that happening now with, Republicans and conservatives, co-opting the word woke and using the word woke as an insult now and something to mean something negative now. Critical race theory, all the things that are happening in schools right now, particularly a conversation, just to segue. We were watching the latest episode of Abbott Elementary, one of our favorite shows, by the way, that we watched. And this week they had a very interesting conversation, and it started a lot of conversations going forward about charter schools. And even within our family, we have seen literature and we've gotten information about it. And I think you and I had just a cursory conversation about, at the very least, exploring it and looking at the options as, it relates to educating our child, because we've got a 13-year-old, and watching, that episode of Abbott Elementary and the issues and the questions that it raised is, charter schools versus public schools, and the indoctrination that can happen if your kids are going into public schools, and especially with our daughter being in a school district that has been much maligned, of course, I think unfairly, but I see charter schools as another means of just trying to separate black kids from their culture and from history. Some people look at it as a means of giving parents and giving kids school choice. I'm not exactly sure, but with you looking at the correspondence and then looking at that episode, what were some of your thoughts on, charter schools and what their place might be in our community?
I'm actually still trying to figure out how I feel about that. The only public school I ever went to was Clinton High. Mm-hmm. So I was in 10th grade before I even touched a public school. Mm-hmm. So I do have an affinity for private education. However, the way the charter schools are shaped in our communities, mm-hmm. it seems elitist and separate.
Yes.
But I do have to do some more research. Like, I don't know anybody particularly, I don't think, that readily comes to my mind that have had a child in a charter school. I'm sure I do know somebody, but
I think Trina's daughter.
Okay. Well, I haven't had a conversation with her about her experience. But I do believe that she went that route because of some trouble that she was having with the school. Mm-hmm. I don't think it was just, I want my child to go to a charter school. Right. And then if that's the case, and that's what you're doing is the best thing for your child, then, who are we to make a judgment about that?
True.
But to do it because you think they are better in some fashion than public school as far as getting your child an education, like I need to see some documentation or some proof of that. Right. Because ultimately what it depends on is the educators in the school. Mm-hmm. Because as long as if my child had the teachers that were at Abbott Elementary, she would be there. I wouldn't move her. They care about them kids. Right. They care about the education. So that's really all I need is for you to care about my child getting what you're trying to teach them. Some kids have trouble with bullying in the school, not doing anything, and thusly they have to get them out and get them to a safe environment where they can learn. So, it's a case by case type of situation for me. Mm-hmm. I think.
I'm all for parents' rights. Parents should be able to send their kids wherever they want to send them. I think the idea of having particular districts in a city, I think, is outdated. I think, you should be able to tour all of the schools in the city. And if the faculty and staff of a particular school pleases you a little bit more than it does in some places, I believe you should be able to drive your kids to whatever school they want to go to. That's why I've always kind of been a fan of magnet schools. We have one of the best magnet schools in the country. The number one school in the state of Mississippi is in Jackson. Shouts out to Obama Magnet School. I know people that teach there. I know the principal at Obama Magnet School, and they have great students. They have a lot of parental involvement. I think it's paramount that, parents be able to have their choice. But, when it comes down to the elitism that you talk about, charter schools being able to pick and choose the students that they have in the school, the curriculum not being guided by anyone, those things are really, stickler points for me, because we just talked about the fact of raising a generation of kids that are separated and disconnected from their history. And, in charter schools, they'll be able to teach whatever they want to teach, however they want to teach it. And,
maybe we should start a charter school then.
Maybe.
That's focused on teaching African history or history, period, the right way.
Technically, the Black and Proud School was a charter school.
It was.
Technically. A private school, where the curriculum is not looked over by a particular, body. And I don't know what the organizing body is over the charter schools in the country, but I'm sure there is one. But, to me, they target Black kids in majority Black schools and sometimes in majority Black districts like, JPS, where we live, and put them in schools where, they can have an edited version of their history so that we can create a generation of Black kids who are quote unquote colorblind, who know nothing about our history. And I think at the end of the day, that's one of the most detrimental things that could happen to us. It scares me that could happen, because, we're pretty much already there. We're pretty much at the point now where all the kids know about is Martin Luther King and, maybe Harriet Tubman. Our daughter had a report about Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad that she had to do. But how long is that going to happen if people have their way, even knowing about Harriet Tubman? And we know educators. I come from a family of educators, my mother, my siblings. I have cousins. We have friends that are teachers and principals in the public school system. And these people really, really care about those kids. They really, really care about educating those kids. They care about, teaching young scholars. And to me, it's terrible, the bad rap that public schools are getting, particularly the public school district where we live in Jackson, Mississippi, which is a majority Black school district. It's particularly unsettling the amount of negativity that is put upon that school district when we know people that are really working hard to educate our kids. Are there some teachers who come to school every day to just get a check? Yes. Are there bad teachers? Yes. Are there bad principals? Yes. Are there people who are able to slip through the system who aren't good for those kids? Absolutely. We see it every day all over the country. The abuse that happens, the neglect that happens, the non-instruction that happens. Is that the case for everybody? No. Instead of putting this money in the charter schools, why not take that money that you're putting together for charter schools and give it to the public school districts and help to improve those districts? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Caught you off guard there a little bit. It's a real deep conversation though, but shouts out to Abbott. There was even, Quita Brinson, the creator and writer on Abbott, even had a back and forth with a few people. She was actually responding in the conversation on Twitter. It was somebody that tried to do have a little gotcha moment and say that, Quinta went to a Quita, I think it's Quita, went to a charter school herself, and that she's given to a charter school. She had to get them straight. A lot of people are loud and wrong on social media too, but I think it's starting a discussion, and I think it was great. And that's what great TV shows do. They talk about what's happening actually in the community, and they start conversations.
Right.
So I think that was a really, really good thing about that. So we're going to keep looking into it, like we did have the conversation here inside of our own household, because as parents, the first thing that you want to do is make sure that your kid is getting the best possible education that they can possibly get. You want to put them in the best scenario. And for some people, charter schools has been that thing. But, it's something that, parents are having to deal with at the end of the day. So, that was something that I felt like we needed to talk about because we are involved parents. We're very involved, and we're very concerned about the education of the little one. And this is something that's happening right now in Jackson, Mississippi, along with a lot of other things that are happening in Jackson, Mississippi. But anyway, getting to the good stuff. I want to first talk about, because I could not wait to have this conversation with you. You got a couple of things that, want to talk about, conversations that have been happening. Folks have been talking about Ciara and Russell at the Oscars in this dress. The Twitter sphere and the social media sphere was abuzz with what the men thought. Of course, we got this super machismo, this generation of young fellas here who, feel it necessary to try to dictate how women should dress and act. But they were none too pleased with Ciara's choice of dress. And they felt like Russell, it felt like his facial expressions were stressing that. And then the conversation came up about what's appropriate for a married woman to wear. And of course, all the usual suspects with the memes and the pictures of, LeBron James' wife dressed a certain way, and then Ciara dressed a certain way, and Ciara's getting ready to leave Russell, and Russell can't control his woman, and she has no class because look at these women here, and look at Ciara, and look at her dress. So as a woman, I want to get your thoughts on that as you were seeing it.
Oh, Lord. I don't care what Ciara wear.
I mean, I know you don't care.
I mean, I'm just saying, I just really feel like people need to mind their own business. If Russell doesn't have a problem with what she's wearing, and she was dressing this way for as long as she's been Ciara.
That's how he got her.
So what is the difference now? All of a sudden, she's supposed to be somebody else. She's still Ciara. She's still who she is. Suddenly, because she's married, she's supposed to be something different. And mind you, if he had a problem with it, and he did not want her to look that way, and she did it anyway, that would be a problem. But I'm not sure that he has a problem with it. I don't know anything about these looks. I didn't see no looks that he gave her.
Well, these are the same people that put the diagram on Rihanna and A$AP Rocky's picture. So, there were people circling his face, and you capture a picture at a moment in time, and, he appeared to be kind of looking off into space. And, of course.
He was probably looking at somebody taking a picture. Who knows what it was.
Correct.
There were several other white women dressed in scantily clad dresses.
Indeed.
That I didn't see anybody have anything to say about. They are also married. So it wasn't about the marriage thing. What it was about was simply that they think that married women should not be sexy.
Right.
For anybody but their husband. Right. And that day is of old. Women are not dressing.
Olden days.
Women are no longer dressing for men. They are dressing for themselves. If you happen to like it and you see it, cool. If you don't, that's cool too. She dresses like that because that's what she look like. I mean, that's what she looks. That's what she likes to look like, and she looks good. She got the body for it.
Absolutely.
Y'all would hate me if I was her size, honey, because you would get tired of these skins.
Let me tell you something, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, a transparent moment here on this podcast, and I want you to remember that you heard it. You can take this and you can put this clip out there to the world. I love my wife's breasts, okay? I think that they are magnificent. I tell her often, and she will tell you as you are watching this right now, that when we go out, I often encourage her to put them boys up and put them out on display. I want to see them breasts out. I want them out. I want everybody to see the breast out. And if she was willing to and wanted to wear that outfit that Ciara had on for people to be able to see these magnificent breasts of hers, I would be in total agreement with it. I don't have any problem with it at all whatsoever. Because, as a man, the thought process, you can look at my wife's breasts all day long. You can look at them. because we've seen breast ever since HBO started, and you had the scrambled porn channel, on the other end of the Time Warner cable end, when you try to go in there and you try to watch the scrambled porn channel at the back, and HBO and Cinemax After Dark started. Everybody knows what breasts look like. Everybody knows what naked women look like. The difference between you guys and Russell is that Russell is going to get to go home and he's going to get to touch them breasts. He's going to get to fondle them. He's going to get to motorboat them. He's going to get to do whatever he wants to them. And you will just be looking at them.
Talking about what she looked like.
Talking about what she looks like at the end of the day. So if my wife wants to go out with her breast out, and which I encourage, again, her to do so because they're voluptuous, and I love them. Love to put my face in them. Love to motorboat them. I love to grab them. I love to squeeze them. And I would love for y'all to see how big and voluptuous they are. Oh, and even if you did, you would only be looking at them because I get to go home and I get to put my face in them breasts. And you don't. And all you be doing is just looking at some breasts. Which you see breasts every day. Everybody sees breasts every day. Everybody sees naked women every day. You can go online and you can see them every day. There's a difference in looking and touching. And it doesn't mean anything to me at all whatsoever because I am a secure man and secure in my manhood. And I am proud of my woman. And I am proud of the body that I worked very hard to be able to have exclusive access to. I worked hard to have exclusive access to this body. So you wouldn't be able to get a chance to get it. I don't care if you get in the DMs. I don't care if you message her. I don't care if you get in the inbox on Facebook. All you want to because you saw those beautiful, voluptuous breasts. It's nothing that you're going to be able to do to get your hands on them. It's not going to happen. So for me, all it is just your insecurity is showing. You don't think that you live enough to keep your woman. And if you think that Russell is not live enough to keep his woman, you're crazy because she's not going anywhere at all whatsoever. You've seen Ciara's breast and you've seen her ass. Whoop-de-doo.
Whoop-de-doo.
You've seen Ciara's breast, and that doesn't mean anything at all whatsoever. You guys are coming out here with this idea that I want a woman who no other man has ever seen her breast, seen her naked. They're chaste, almost, virgins, pure as the driven snow. And you done gone out here and you done slung it all over town and gave it to everybody, but you want your wife to be untouched. Let me tell you something, and I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. In most cases, the women that you are dating, somebody is already done hit it and they tired of it by the time you get there. Okay? My wife had a history before I married her. I had a history before she married me. And there are people on both our ends that are absolutely, positively don't want no more of either parts of us whatsoever. Okay? They done and they finished and then had enough of it and they are done with it. And that's it. Because that's not what this is about at the end of the day. People have seen your wife's breast. Whoever is listening to this right now, people have seen your wife's breast already. And they've seen her naked. Okay? And they already know what it looks like. And they done with it and they tired of it. And you have it now. So you enjoy it. You enjoy it. So at the end of the day, if your wife has a body and has the confidence to be able to do it, you should have the security enough to be able to let your wife go out and dress however it is that she wants to dress at the end of the day. Because if we go out, every time we go out, and she will tell you, I want her to put that bra on that's going to have, I want them things almost falling out. I want that cleavage out. And when people walk by, I want all the dudes, I want their eyes to be honed in right on my wife's breast and look at them, because you're just going to be looking at them. I want you to look at them. I want you to look and see what you will never, ever be able to touch and what you will never, ever be able to have. I want you to get a good look at it. You know what I'm saying? She tries to keep them subdued because that's her choice. And if she decides to not dress like that, then that's fine. I don't have any problem with that at all whatsoever. But if it was up to me, I'd say put them boys out there and let the world see them, because I love them. And when they see him and y'all see him and get all riled up, oh, man, I done seen Kaz's wife's breasts. Yeah, that's great. You done seen them. But you've seen breasts like that. Everybody's seen breasts before. It's no big deal. Stop acting like you 12 and, you at home late at night at 2, 3 in the morning and you trying to sneak and watch HBO Max at your house. Stop trying to do that. Or Cinemax After Dark. You know what I'm saying? You act like you just ain't never really seen breasts before in your life. So shouts out to Ciara and shouts out to Russell Wilson, because at the end of the day, he gets to go home with that body and you don't. Most of you who have made these memes and put these posts out, y'all are not going home to any woman at all whatsoever. You're going home alone. And you know what you're caressing? Well, it's definitely not a woman. You're caressing yourself at night in most instances. All right. So there's that. So grow up, dudes. If you got a woman with a great body, let her show that body off. They brought up, what's her name? What's Gucci's wife's name? The one that you like? Don't act like you don't know her name now. Keisha Kior.
Yes.
Keisha
Kayor.
They was talking about the outfit that she wore that time, and it was out there on her.
She always out there too.
Yeah, and she's proud of her body, and Gucci is proud of having a woman with a body like that. Because guess what? You're not going to touch his woman either. You'll never, ever be able. Y'all be concerned about women that the bulk of you will never, ever be able to touch in your life. You'll never even be able to get a woman with the body of Ciara or Keisha or Kay. What's the last part? I'm just going to say Keisha. You'll never be able to get a woman as fine as Keisha or as fine as Ciara. You're not going to even be able to get into that realm. So it's not even anything for you to worry about. You may have a woman who does not need to show off her body. Who knows? But that's on you. But as far as this household is concerned, I like the breasts, and I want the breasts to be seen as much as they possibly can, because they're voluptuous and delicious and great. And that's the way I feel about it, and I am proud of them. And I want y'all to take a good look at them, because you'll never be able to touch them. Just me. And that's it on that. Now, the floor is yours. You can have the floor.
Baby, the floor is over and done. There's nothing on the floor.
As a woman, I was just giving you the man's perspective. But as the woman.
I mean, I already said what I had to say.
That was it?
Yeah, that's it. I think people need to mind their own business.
In a nutshell. That's it. Because if they cool
stay
with
out of married folks' business.
That's it. In a nutshell. If that's it. At the end of the day.
Because your opinion don't really do anything to anybody about anything. So you plastering it so people can be engaged with you on social media. It's not really doing anything.
That's it.
It's not serving any purpose at all, except maybe nurturing your ego a little bit.
That's it. Speaking of which, speaking about marriage, one other thing that I wanted to get into real quick before we get out of here, there was a meme, a pic of Ashanti that was up. Ashanti is single and has no kids. And of course, the usual suspects, another, super machismo fuck boy, made another meme about being 40 with no kids isn't a flex. And, we had the conversation about, women who have reached a certain age who are single and don't have any kids. And apparently people seem to think that everyone has the same life aspirations when in fact they don't.
A, who says she's doing it for a flex?
True.
B, what make you think this woman is not cool not being married? Who says she ever wants to be married?
Right.
Who says she ever wants to have kids?
Right.
This idea that women are born to marry and breed children is ancient.
Ridiculous.
It does not exist anymore.
It's terrible.
Like that, ultimately we all want love. But love does not have to equal marriage and children.
Correct.
Anymore.
Correct.
And there are plenty of women, and not all of them so traumatized that they can't do it. They literally choose a different kind of life.
Right.
Than the one your mom chose and your grandmother chose and your great grandmother chose and your wife chose and your sister chose. People are able to choose whatever they want to choose.
Correct.
I see Ashanti as being someone who, she looks like she's pleasantly happy with her life. She doesn't look like she's hurting for anything. She body banging. She's looking good everywhere she go. She doesn't look depressed. She doesn't look lonely. She doesn't look like any of that to me. I mean, of course, none of us are inside her house or living her life with her.
Correct.
But I just think the idea that she missing something or that something is wrong with her because she's 42 and don't have kids is ridiculous. Plus, people are having children and getting married later than before too. So
for a good reason.
she could be 50 and have her first kid. Like, that's happening. As long as you got the tolerance level, which, mind you, I don't advise it, but as long as you got the tolerance level for kids and the energy, and you in good condition, because your body gonna take a hit that it wouldn't have taken if you were 21 having a baby. But people are having babies later in life. Stop putting limitations on people that you actually own yourself. That's your shit. Stop putting it on other people. She gets the right to choose whatever she wants to do. And if she has chosen, if she is like not married because nobody wants to marry her, that's her own stuff to work out.
Right.
It's not up to us to make a judgment about her or to give advisement to other women based on what they see for Ashanti. Other women's lives are theirs, just like hers is hers.
Right. And who said it was a flex for you to be married and have kids? Why is that a flex? I mean, the flex should be you being able to do whatever it is that you want to do with your life.
Correct.
That's the flex. Now, I don't think Ashanti has made a definitive statement about not wanting to be married or not having kids. I think, Tracy Ellis Ross, I think, has had articles done on the fact that she's still single and doesn't have any kids. And she says that is what she wants. And there are a lot of people. She hadn't
always said that, though.
She hadn't?
No.
Okay. Well, she's saying it now, I guess. But at the end of the day, there are a lot of people who have stated that they don't want kids. And I can honestly understand why you would say that. If you are of a certain age and you can see what's happening out here in the world and seeing how things have changed and the cost of living and all those things, I think it's a very wise decision in a lot of instances if you are, even a married couple, to actually sit down and have the conversation about whether or not you want to have kids or not. This is just not the goal of everyone. It is not what everyone aspires to do. And again, like you said, you're putting, those conditions on other people's lives, conditions that you have set for yourselves. I tell you all the time that I went to school with a lot of young ladies who had this quote unquote life plan about, I'm going to be married at a certain age and I'm going to have kids by a certain age and I'm going to be making this amount of money at a certain age. And I just laugh at that because you're not in control really of any of that, really, at the end of the day. Even as much as you might be in control of what your career can be, you still don't have full control over what that salary is going to be. You don't have control over whether or not a man is going to court you and you're going to find a suitor who's going to marry you. And then at that point, you don't even know if you're even able to have kids at that point, even if you do want them. So, people are just trying to find ways to, again, dictate to women what it is that they should be doing at the end of the day. And this society has just become it reeks of patriarchy these days for these people who try to tell these women what it is that they're supposed to do. Ashanti is, still making money. I haven't heard any new songs or any new records, so I'm assuming that she, for
she's
whatever reason, she's still touring and she's doing her thing.
And that's fine too.
So she's able to travel the world without the limitations of having kids that she has to worry about, without having another man that she has to worry about. And I'm pretty sure, judging from the pictures, and you saw the pictures, Ashanti could get a man and get married at the drop of a hat. She could snap her fingers, and I'm pretty sure someone would come running and would put a ring on Ashanti's finger and marry her and make the effort to impregnate her at the very same time. I think that's totally on her time. And I think independent women who have choices and have options, I think that just scares the shit out of a lot of men.
I'm sure.
I think it just scares them to have a woman who
where
is
does
not.
It leave them?
Yeah.
But women also, I want you guys to know that you have the right to flow as well. If you're 40 and you've wanted a baby and a kid all the way up to 40, you turn 43 and suddenly you don't anymore, that's fine.
That's your choice.
You have the right to make any choice that you want with your life. Mm-hmm. Like, the only thing you need to do is make sure that you're being transparent and honest with yourself and not lying to yourself and living on a mask and a veil. Just be honest with yourself about what you want. If you want kids, you want them. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get them. But if you want them, you want them. If you don't want them, that's fine. You don't have to want kids.
Perfectly fine.
Life can be whatever you make it, whatever you want it to be, So, because that pressure comes, men put that pressure on women to want what they tell them we want. No, you don't. You decide what you want. Not mama, not pastor, not daddy, not boyfriend, sister, cousin, brother. You decide what you want. If it's kids, that's fine. If it's not, that's fine. If it's a man or a woman or a boy or a girl or 2 children, 5 children, 10 children, you have the right to choose. It's up to you.
At the end of the day, the flex is you doing you. The flex is living your life and being happy however you see it fit to be happy. So don't let a man tell you that you have to be married or that there's something wrong with you if you're not married. You know, a lot of people are saying now because she's 40 and doesn't have any kids, you know, she's not marriage material. No man wants her because she's at this age.
That's hate.
It's just hate, man.
That's hateration all day long.
God, man, it's a lot of you dudes. Y'all are really out here every day just embarrassing the species. Every day. The male species, y'all are out here every day just embarrassing us. And it's terrible that I have to watch this happening because a lot of it is this younger generation. And the crazy thing about social media is that A, it gives everybody a platform to speak their mind. And then B, the downside of it is that it gives everybody a platform to speak their mind. Because
I think people need to be responsible for what they speak in.
Yeah.
There's no accountability.
Yeah, and they're basically just posting their own insecurities out to the world.
Yes, Lord.
And it's loud and it's embarrassing. You know, and for a lot of guys and for a lot of women, you know, even the one that said that Jesus was broke. I mean, I think you got to live a little bit of life. You know, a lot of these are coming from the minds of, 20-something-year-old folks who, may have lived some life experiences, but you're going to have a lot more life experiences under your belt when you get into your mid-30s and in your 40s to be able to speak a little bit more intelligently about these things. And that's coming from somebody who heard that very same thing when I was in my 20s and I thought that I knew everything. Mm-hmm. And I hate to sound like that guy, the get off my lawn guy. I hate to sound like that, but there's something to be said for living some life and having some experiences. There's something to be said for it because I do know that I think totally different than I did when I was in my mid-20s and my late 20s.
Sure.
And I think that's the good thing about being around people that challenge you to think. And hopefully that's what we do when you listen to us, and thankfully all the people that have been, waiting to hear our take on a lot of these things that are going on in current events right now in the world. We appreciate y'all, so hopefully at some point these conversations that we're having between a husband and wife in the privacy of our own home to bring to you guys, hopefully they make you think and they make you laugh. Hope you enjoy what we talk about because this is a labor of love for us. We like doing this and we kind of like just letting you guys know what goes on in the minds of the Franklins, in the Franklin household, because it's crazy. Let me tell you, it's crazy. But we appreciate y'all, man, and y'all keep listening and y'all keep watching. What you shaking your head for? It's crazy out here, ain't it?
Thank y'all for tuning in today.
There it is. There it is. Oh, anyway, on that note, we appreciate you guys, as always. And this is the Boys